Okay, welcome back. We're in Module 2, and why don't we just jump in? Now, I do want to give a little bit of background, especially for our international students, but even if you were born here in the USA, I think this will be a good background. You have to understand, first and foremost, when we talk about the legal environment, that the United States is a federal system. And what this means is, the fancy word is we have a dual sovereign. We have a national government in Washington, D.C., right? The Congress that enacts legislation, the President of the United States, and the federal judiciary, going all the way up to the Supreme Court. We'll look at 2 Supreme Court cases in this module. But we also have state courts, and these are considered, states and state courts and state governors and state legislatures. We have a federal system. And so we have 2 sovereigns. And so I want to begin with state law, and I want to begin with Florida law. And since we're using Tiger King just to explore legal and ethical environment of business, why don't we look at animal cruelty law? All 50 states have laws on the books that make it a crime to harm animals. Now, these laws, what's fascinating about the laws are not the laws themselves, but the exceptions to the laws. For example, are rodeos animal cruelty? Those kind of things, hunting, right? And so different states will have different exceptions based on the history of the state and, the different lobby groups that are able to influence legislation. But let's focus on Florida. And I want to talk about a really cool case that I've thrown in the module, State versus Wilkerson. Here, Peter Wilkerson, he was accused by the prosecutor. Here, the case began in Orange County, and he was accused of breaking Florida's animal cruelty law. And you know what Peter Wilkerson's lawyers did? They said, well, you know what? We're probably going to lose on the facts, so let's challenge the law. Let's challenge the constitutionality of the law. And what argument do you think they came up with to try to get a court to say that the law was unconstitutional, that this law is not fair, this law is not valid, you've got to throw out the case. Not because what my client did was innocent, not because he's innocent. We're not going to win on the facts, but because something is defective with the law. Well, they made an argument known as by the way, what argument would you make, right? You're being charged here with animal cruelty, and you can't deny the facts. So what are you going to do? You're going to challenge the law. I want you to think about that. Read the case. What argument would you make if you were in Mr. Wilkerson's shoes? I'm going to come back and talk about the case and tell you how the court resolved it, and then tell you why this case is actually, believe it or not, a very important case that represents a very important principle of rule of law.